There we go. Oh, so it's not letting me just select the button. It's just telling me going live. Okay. I'm just automatically live. Hello, everyone. I have run into some interesting bumps getting started today because YouTube decided to change how they did it. Again! Making it far more convoluted and difficult to actually get going. So they dumped all of my previous settings, so I had to manually go back in and do all of that again, which is, just what I wanted today. Sorry, I'm starting off super salty because of all of this. I'm also still joined, as usual, by Cybernetic Pink Eye.
Who doesn't help the salt.
He really doesn't. And while I'm normally joined by other people, today it's just going to be the two of us. Today it's just going to be a semi-chill stream. It's going to be just, laid back and me doing some art and all of that. I say laid back, but I already started out with the salt today, so you can't just ruin my stream setup. That's just it, though. They ruined my stream setup. They ruined my profile. I had to get a new stream key to shove in there, and I just wanted to have a happy fun time by fucking arting at you.
Well, that was your first mistake.
So, I was joined by Griffin today, however... Yeah, infuriating update. Go brrr. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
It's basically how that goes. It's just like, thanks for that. You will probably see on screen, I know that this is one of those, I hate to say requisite things, but on screen right now you will probably see in the lower left-hand corner the coffee.com/Loreley. If you want to contribute to this stream, that's usually what I prefer at this point. You can still also do it through YouTube, through their super chat function, and that's one of those ways where if you want to send me a message with your contribution, it'll put it on the screen for me longer, and I will probably read that out. But YouTube takes a pretty significant cut, so
yeah,
I want to give you alternatives, admittedly. And I will say, for all of the times that I reference it, for all of the times that I mention, here's how you can support my channel, none of it is a requirement for the content that I make. It makes it easier for me to do the content that I make. And it's more as a reminder for folks who might be like, I want to, or like not even necessarily remembering it on stuff. Because I have terrible memory. Like, I can sometimes forget what I'm saying in the middle of a fucking sentence, so... which has probably happened more than a few times live. But it's more just like a, hey, here's a thing. Oh, I remember that now. Or just, putting it in people's minds, because that's how advertising works, I guess.
I mean, that's just it. Any company owned by Google is going to be stingy with the cheddar, so it's better to have alternatives set in place to make sure you can actually get by.
Hello, folks. Hello, Chris. Welcome to the stream. So we are going to be doing an art stream today, as if the title of today's stream didn't give that away. Loreley, never call me Lori. Loreley, Arty, the thingy. Why am I getting sound crackling? That's weird. Awesome. Sorry, I'm obviously dealing with some very interesting side effects today. So, hopefully...
It's a day for technical difficulties.
Hopefully this should be popping up. Did I? I did. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to be working on some artwork today. And this artwork is actually for something that's going to be going up on the channel.
Ah, yes.
You know what it is. I'm excited for what it is. I may as well just say now, it's a song cover.
Uh-huh.
And it's a song cover involving both of us.
Yep.
The richest company in the world is so hesitant to give people money for their... Well, that's Amazon. Google is up there, but Amazon is technically the richest company in the world. And of course they're hesitant to give money for the work that people upload to their channel, because what they actually want are the advertisers. Us making the content is not actually their priority. They just happen to capitalize on it, literally. We're doing the work for them. So why should they pay us for the work that we're doing? That's how capitalism works.
Yeah.
That said, a lot of us don't have, or many of us do not have an alternative option, so I have no problem sticking to this. And I know that if I wanted to ever be boosted in the algorithm, I would stop criticizing YouTube and probably start being like, oh, YouTube is the best. It's a platform that allows me to do the things that I want to do. And that there's a grain of truth to that, but honestly, the ones that are allowing me to do what I want to do with my channel are the folks who are going onto my Patreon and becoming patrons, which you can see listed in the description of every video that goes up on my channel. Anyway, is people on Patreon or people who contribute to these streams like that. That is what allows me to do what I'm doing. YouTube happens to be the medium through which I do it, and if they continue to fuck around with it, I'm going to find an alternative. And they have continued, but if they make it literally impossible, then I'm going to be seeking another platform.
Granted, Patreon is no utopia itself, but it's a hell of a lot more sustainable than anything YouTube has put forward.
Oh, absolutely. So, some of you may recognize the character that is currently on screen. This is Ophelia. She is my player character in the Magic of the Mundane campaign. And the song cover that we're going to be doing is technically in character, although for Griffin it's not in character for his player character, because he's also involved in this campaign. For those of you who don't know.
To elaborate, I've essentially been voice cast by the DM of the campaign as one of the essentially mascot characters and one of the DM's favorite NPCs, Weldon, the half-elf wizard.
With a complicated backstory, which we've elaborated on previous streams, but...
Complicated is underdoing it.
Have you ever heard of Storyfire? Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did set up an account there. They do have a requirement when you actually submit for being able to post videos on there that the content that you're submitting there is not also hosted elsewhere. And so while I'm still trying to make Sirenia Studios work, if I make content for Storyfire, it's going to have to be something unique to Storyfire. Which I have a few ideas in that regard, but I do kind of want to focus on the channel that has, focus on a channel that has slightly more traffic and a slightly larger platform to work on. Again, however, if they make it impossible, or if Sirenia Studios does not actually kick off, so to speak, I might just be relocating everything to Storyfire. Hello, Phoenix. They also treat their creators far better than YouTube, absolutely. And again, I'm sitting here promoting... I mean, that just goes to show, you don't get brand loyalty from people by stripping away their ability to actually create content for the platform that you're giving them. Is Dailymotion competitive? No.
No, not really. I mean, usually I find the only thing Dailymotion is used for is for streaming episodes of TV shows that you can't put on YouTube.
Yeah, and those also still eventually get taken down, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Some channels get away with that, or some individual uploaders.
Yeah.
But, I'm not going to recommend sites that stream videos for you without you having to, having to go out of your way for it. But, those things exist out there. I will say, not that I would ever promote it. If you do find yourself absolutely needing to, stream content that is not available on a platform that you either already pay for or, whatever else, be careful. Traversing the internet has some not great sites, and as always, keep your antivirus up to date.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's out there, and even sites that previously you might have been able to trust, sometimes they can get infected. And the best way to get a message across to a rich company is to cut off the money. I think a large-scale YouTuber strike could let YouTube know for sure that the creators aren't happy. Yeah.
That's assuming YouTube cares.
That's assuming, I mean, YouTube would care if, say, for example, Markiplier or PewDiePie, some of their literal biggest attractions on the site, basically said, we're not making content for you. The problem is that that's also their livelihood. And while I would love to see them do that, I would love to see them actually take a stand and say, we're not going to make you any more money. We're going to private all of our videos and, all of that. That's how they make their income.
It's what lets them get away with horrible, horrible shit.
Yeah. No, I know. But that's just it. I know that I have mixed feelings on Markiplier. I do feel like if it got to the point where his viewers were continuing to struggle using the platform, if they made it unbearable for viewers to interact with the material, that he might actually do something like that, but I would not expect someone with the like of Pee Wee Dee Dee to actually do anything about it.
Yeah.
Starts blasting Twisted Sister music. Lord doing the Arty thing. Hello, 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 welcome, welcome. They had plenty of time. Yeah. Yeah. They wouldn't care. They have, oh god, the Paul brothers. Not, I think one of them got arrested, didn't they?
Yeah, but just wait. He'll be back, streaming in no time.
He'll be back once again, putting out garbage and not in a can. I don't know. Setting fire. Never mind. I'm not good at lyricizing on the spot. But
Firing laughter that is only canned.
I can't really say that because, there is definitely appeal there.
Banana peel.
Da 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 da. I do want to do a cover of that song at some point. I want to do covers of all the songs. Shut up, Griffin. I know what you're already thinking. Mm-hmm. But that's why I'm doing this video. That's why I'm doing this stream. Because there's going to be a singing. We're going to be doing a singy the thingy. I'm actually hoping to have this out this coming weekend. Actually, it'll be exactly 1 week from now. Well, I mean, it'll be 1 week from now. For those of you who are patrons, because they get early access, even for just $1 a month. Okay. I try not to be too heavy-handed with that kind of thing. It's just, by necessity, this is literally my income. So, that said. But yeah, it'll be early access for people who are on Patreon. For everyone else, it will be a Sunday upload. What is Griffin thinking? Oh, whoa. What is Griffin thinking?
That's a damn good question. I'll let you know when I figure it out.
That's literally the one song from Hamilton I've experienced. Oh. Oh, Jared Lord. You should... I highly recommend, exploring the likes of Hamilton, because I was able to, actually see the, recorded... movie that was put out by Disney Plus of the stage production for that. I had already been kind of familiar with the music. There are a lot of songs on there that I absolutely love. But actually seeing it all in motion and hearing some of the songs that I hadn't quite listened to as of yet, it's a very different experience. And
oh yeah.
It's definitely one where, I mean, even just listening to the soundtrack alone is good. It's excellent, in fact. It plays with a lot of variety of styles. Obviously, it blends hip-hop and rap and all of that with this story taking place at the birth of our nation as it exists. Hamilton was great. Was listening to that earlier. Do you know what to do in a French ingenuitive and fluent in French? I mean, I definitely want to see it. The one clip I've seen, it was like, this is awesome. Yeah, all of it is awesome. Everyone that I have seen universally watching, watching it, doing reaction videos to it, they're like, I've never seen a musical before. And they'll watch it, and I remember these two black dudes are watching it, and like they have no experience with musicals whatsoever. And during It's Quiet Uptown, one of them started like absolutely tearing up. And the other guy was like, "Are you actually crying?" And he's like, "Well, I mean..."
Yeah, I will say, like, the very first thing I ever even heard of Hamilton was History Has Its Eyes on You.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, oddly enough, I think it was just a short, like, AMV someone did using clips of Soldier 76.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
that was my initial exposure.
That kind of checks out a little bit. But yeah, no, it's
when I thought Overwatch had a future. Anyway,
I mean, it has one. It's just not one that either of us want to be a part of anymore. If not, like, literally the last time I played that game was for the How to Suck at Overwatch video that we did. Professional recordings are amazing to have, but I loved Into the Woods because it was so cinematic but still faithful. We should get more musical adaptations similar to Into the Woods. Yeah, that's difficult and that's tricky because a musical adaptation is really difficult to do. Things that are native to the stage do not translate well into a movie, because some of what works for a musical are these surreal things that don't make sense.
I mean, it depends on the execution. Looks at Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes, but that took some very careful crafting to adapt it.
Oh, yeah.
That's the point. First I've had is a parody that TFS did. I will say that my first exposure was a handful of songs. I think You'll Be Back was among them. Satisfied was among them. I'm trying to think of some of the early ones that I'd heard before this point. But yeah, Satisfied, a couple of them. Over time, I got exposed to more of it, and then with the release of the full movie / production, I finally got a chance to kind of actually fully listen to the rest of the soundtrack. It is so good. Like, it absolutely subverts your expectations. Like, if you're not someone who's been into hip-hop, if you're not someone who's been into rap, like, the very concept that there's an entire musical that is comprised of rap is, well, almost entirely comprised outside of literally one song, effectively. Well, not. Anyway.
I mean, the funny thing is, you would think there would be more musicals, like, done in that style, considering how much fucking effort goes into rap.
You'd think, but here's the thing. Unfortunately, there is a stigma against rap as a result of the way that the mainstream has actually marketed it. Yeah, bastardized it and marketed it. There's a lot of skill that goes into rapping that unfortunately gets brushed over and treated as, like, you know, a one-trick pony where all that you talk about is, you know, sex and money and guns and all of that stuff. And that's not necessarily what it has to be about. I know that the origins were largely anti-establishment, very much individual, you know, condemnations of the status quo as it was. And if you look at a lot of rap music, it definitely goes into that. It's just not usually what gets promoted in the mainstream, because something being anti-establishment is not friendly or conducive to making money. Not for the people that are producing it, anyway. A musical made in rap, it was inevitable before someone compares. See, the other part of this also is that Broadway is, I don't know if you knew this, but it's really fucking backward. It has been for a very long time. It has very much an exclusivity club. It tries to pride itself on being, you know, really, really only for the hoity-toity. It
is defined by its gatekeeping.
Yeah, there's a reason why a lot of movie musicals have not been made, and it's because they don't want to put their productions out there for people to enjoy. They don't want the common masses to enjoy their product, because that takes away from charging hundreds, thousands of dollars per ticket to see the live show. A good rapper is amazing. Remember meeting a kid 17 years ago, had to be like 10, and he was busting out random freestyle rap, and holy crap, what a grasp of language. Absolutely.
I mean, I will say, like, one of the signs of I think the most talented lyricist is their ability to freestyle rap. Because not only
Yeah.
do you have to have an extensive vocabulary, but you also have to be well spoken. You have to be able to just come out with things on the fly, especially if you're in like a rap battle situation where they're bringing up specific things that you have to retort with.
I agree, Jared. I agree. Yeah, the theater should not be for rich white folks only. It should be for everyone, and I feel like Hamilton is actually a wonderful demonstration of that. A lot of people actually laughed at the concept of taking a story about the founding fathers, and especially of Hamilton, and adapting it into a rap-based musical. And on top of that, by intentionally casting all of the characters, especially for a first run, as people of color. That was a deliberate choice on the part of Lin-Manuel Miranda.
And his reasoning behind it even makes sense, that if you're telling this story to modern Americans, you want this story to be representative of the modern American people.
And we've seen enough stuff by white people. And I'm saying this as a white people. I'm saying that we've got plenty of representation, especially in the market when it comes to musicals. We can probably take a back seat for, like, I don't know, 5 minutes and let this amazing musical actually take center stage for a little bit.
Like, there's been somewhat of a movement I've seen. Well, it's been a movement for quite some fucking time, but only relatively recently has been actually showing, fruit of media, like, especially with, like, on-demand media, putting stuff out there that's more normalizes, like, the actual representations of who people are. Like, whether it's, like, like, having, like, more shows that center around, people of color, and not just having them as the best friend type character, or a series that normalize, like, people who are, on the spectrum, or people who are LGBTQ plus. Like, again, the movement has been a thing for a while, and only relatively recently have we been seeing, like, this degree of normalization in this type of readily accessible media.
And I think what's even more important is that we are seeing individuals who are from those demographics finally actually getting the chance to have their voices be heard in those roles. We're seeing a lot of individuals who are finally getting to actually raise their voice instead of waiting for white people to tokenize them, which is, I think, vital in a lot of ways when it comes to actually finally getting true diversity in our programming by and large. I totally agree, Loreley. I also agree that with what Griffin is saying right now. I don't have much else to say here, though. I also know what you mean by as a white people, but I'm, like, cracking up here. Yeah, no, I did that. Okay. As someone who enjoys playing around with language, I love playing around with language. I find things funny whenever something is not grammatically correct, if only because I know how it's supposed to go grammatically correctly. But then you get the fucking language gatekeepers who come along and they're like, that's not how that sentence is supposed to go. Didn't you know how to speak?
Not correct.
That is not correct. Yeah, so whenever you get, if you ever, and I'm gonna give you fucking full permission for this, if you ever get one of those asshats who come in and try to nitpick your grammar or nitpick your spelling, and they're like, this is not English, this is not proper English, you're clearly not intelligent because you're not getting it right. Here's what you can tell this kind of motherfucker. If they come into your face about this, you can tell them, language is not about following the correct rules so much as it is about living and breathing in the culture that it was produced. If there's a slang word, if there is vocabulary that has not yet been integrated into what is considered proper grammar, it just means that people are behind what is actually the culture speaking the language. If you want to limit yourself to only what is grammatically correct, you will not sound like a person speaking correctly. You will sound like a textbook. You will not sound like a human being. And that's the fucking point. In fact, by this elitism, you are in fact cutting yourself off from the point of the language in the first place. You are the one speaking the language incorrectly because you are trying to deny people the right to speak the language as befits them. You are incorrect. Yes, I think passionately about this.
What
LGBT.
don't you think passionately about?
That's true. I'm a very opinionated person. LGBT plus characters don't need a reason to exist. White guy doesn't need a reason to have a girlfriend. True. They don't need a reason to exist. However, representation does need to be there. For example, I didn't know until I was in my early 20s that asexuality was a thing. Up until that point, I called myself a bisexual, if only by virtue of I am attracted to any gender equally. And then I learned asexuality is, which is to say, not at all. And then asexuality turned out to be a thing, and I was like, I never knew this before, but now I've seen it, and I know what it is. I don't want to talk in Middle English, thanks. Uptight English speaker slurping. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Like another example that comes to mind, because I recently, it's been around for a while, but I recently marathoned through the She-Ra remake.
Yes.
And that is probably the gayest show I have ever seen, and I mean that in a glowing way, a fantastic way. Like the degree to which it normalizes, like LGBT like attraction and relationships is something that I wish we have had for a long time.
Exactly, and the fact that it was intended and was there since the beginning. Also, you're going to see a panel pop up on the screen showing the two characters involved in this song. Ophelia.
Look at these smug motherfuckers.
I know, they're so catty. I love them. They are, I will say this, these two characters, contextually within the game, they have a unique friendship. Like, everyone has their own relationship to Weldon in the story. Ophelia's happens to be the one that gets the most snark out of him.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I will say that the background is me just kind of being lazy, because if I get bogged down in doing a background, I will not get this finished. And as long as people get the idea of what's going on, that is ultimately the most important part of any art. And I will say, using this, it's literally a copyright-free image. It is literally completely free to use, so it's literally there for this kind of use, to use as you need to for your production stuff, and also fuck you if you judge me for not wanting to do backgrounds, because fuck you.
No one wants to do backgrounds.
No.
Even if they say they want to do backgrounds, they don't want to do
That's not true. Some people do actually legitimately enjoy doing backgrounds. I think for a lot of people who do enjoy doing background art, it's like a meditative thing, because a lot of people don't like doing the backgrounds because it is tedious. You have to stay focused for an extended period of time to do all of those little minute details. And so that is not as easy for folks, myself included. I
can think of all of one person who actually legit enjoyed doing backgrounds, and his name was Bob Ross.
Well, I know of another person, but I guess we don't speak their name around here, so that's fine.
Yeah, they must not be named.
Yeah, well, it doesn't ultimately matter, but either way. People have different reasons for why they do different things art-wise. I don't like backgrounds. A lot of people don't like backgrounds. That's just how it is. So instead, I make do with what I've got, and I try to do the best that I can. Now, if I had a person who was a professional artist who wanted to step in and actually do the background stuff for me, I would not object. However, that is not something that I have the time or patience to really ultimately do. Not for my part, anyway. I will do it when it's important for me to do it. I do try to include it for things like when I'm doing Ballad of Loreley stuff, because, you need backgrounds for where characters are going about doing things. Ian, don't say that name. I think one of our friends either really enjoys backgrounds or can't stand them. I can't remember which way it actually was. Yep, they have intense feelings about backgrounds. I apparently do too.
Yes.
I hate to do this in the middle of a stream, but I need to be right back. So, Griffin, if you want to continue talking about shit in my absence, it shouldn't take too long. But I do have to step away for just a sec.
Of course.
So just
I
go ahead
mean,
and stare at this lovely picture of Ophelia with blank eyes.
oh
So,
yeah.
all right, I will be right back.
Take your time. But yeah, I mean, much in the same manner as Loreley is opinionated, I too have my own fair share of opinions, in case you haven't already figured that out by this point. And mainly my opinions regarding to this are people generally don't like doing backgrounds and they don't like doing hands. Both are the spawn of Satan. I can't draw, period. So it mainly comes down to like just things that are especially difficult. But yeah, I mean, granted, a lot of people have their own individual pet peeves when it comes to like the artistic process. And again, I'm not even sure if I'm using proper grammar here. I mean, we already had a whole discussion about that. But yeah, it ultimately comes down to like, I guess in terms of like, you know, what the grand majority of people have difficulty with when it comes to creating art. But yeah, there is a lot that I just personally find difficult conceptually speaking. The most I've done artistically over the past several years is just like occasional like doodles I've done when I've had specific jobs that required me to stay in one spot for prolonged periods of time. So yeah, I am not exactly what one would call a visual artist, I suppose. But then again, like the concept of art also does stretch outside, you know, visual mediums. Like for example, audio engineering or voice acting are forms of art. I wholly believe that. And I believe there is an art and science to both of those. And a lot of it comes down to what you learn by example, what you're taught by people, learning by experience. I mean, for me individually, or me personally rather, I'm pretty much a self-taught editor when it comes to both audio and visual stuff. Like the thing I generally have the most difficulty with is recording in such a way where there isn't much reverb or, you know, background noise, and also just making sure that there aren't too terribly many like clicks or pops in the final record. And you know, both of those are things I've struggled with depending on where I've lived. The last place I lived before I live now was a place where you would think would not be ideal for recording, but no, it was actually better than my current setup in terms of like overall audio quality. Because where I lived over a year ago was this little like studio apartment sized cabin in the middle of the woods in Northern California. And for whatever reason, the audio quality from my recording station at my desk was damn near ideal. Whereas this one, where I am currently living now in my new apartment, there's a lot more space. I think it might have something to do with the flooring, the fact that I'm near a window with this new place. There's a lot of factors that go into it, and they're all factors that you have to sort of try and accommodate for when you are doing audio work and voice work in general. Of course, that has not stopped me from continuing to experiment and try new things. I continue to, you know, try and jump on any opportunities I can when it comes to voice work, when it comes to mixing stuff. Some of you know I've done a lot of audio mixing for not only Loreley's channel, but also Gail Rice's channel, which I have had a lot of fun with. I also provide occasional voice work for both. And I think a lot of, the skills I have acquired over the past several years have been due in no small part to the opportunities given to me by those two friends of mine, as well as other opportunities have come up. Some of them were sort of hit and miss in terms of, like, whether or not I fully enjoyed working on them. But I would be lying if I said I didn't learn from every single opportunity I got. So, yeah, it is ultimately, whether or not, like, you excel at any given aspect of your desired craft. By the way, thank you, Des, for following. That just popped up on my end. But yes, whatever aspect of your particular craft you excel in ultimately comes down to, I suppose, the level of experience you have, pardon me, in that particular aspect. Because for me, a lot of what I enjoy specifically about audio engineering is problem solving. Because I consider editing, whether it's like video editing or audio editing, as a sort of like a puzzle that I need to solve in order to like get either the desired outcome that I have like conceived initially, or some facsimile thereof. And oftentimes I find that because of the restraints I'm given when it comes to my audio editing and visual editing, oftentimes the result I am left with after working my way around specific limitations turns out to be better than what I initially had in mind. I can think of a fair amount of details from, like, say for example, my IMUO series, where I had been limited by certain aspects of my video editing software for specific visual gags, and had to find ways around them that ultimately I felt worked in my favor. Because I feel as though every artist needs limits in order to test what it is they can do and try and improve upon their base skill sets. Welcome back, by the way.
Yes, hello.
Yes. Yeah, I was just elaborating on how I think limitations with resources for artists can be a benefit, because it challenges artists to think outside what they might have in mind conceptually and try and eventually land upon something that's even better than what they initially set out to do.
Yeah. I will say that I'm kind of torn on, it's good every once in a while to deal with some sort of limit, some limitation when it comes to either resources or something along those lines. Because, as you said, it teaches you creativity. It teaches you the, what you can do with the materials. I will say, however, that as an artist who frequently does rely on some of the materials that I have been given in order to create a specific effect, I have no problem with that either. I think that that's actually something that is vital when it comes to the survival of an artist sometimes, especially in a digital age. I've seen a lot of improvement with my art because I've been able to do it digitally, for example. Let's see. Just catching up on the chat. Oh yes, audio engineering is definitely a fantastic art, and I have a huge respect for all of that. And just shitpost drawing of Trogdor in response to one of our talented friends talking about how they feel they aren't a great artist. Of my character 4, redacted because I can't frickin' draw. You redacting shit there, Jared? What are you redacting? Okay, coffee is a place you can give creators money. It's like a tip jar of sorts. You can give people small amounts of money at a time. Yeah, I will say some people, for example, use coffee as a way to, take commissions, and that's something that I would offer through coffee, and I probably should offer through coffee. I do generally want to offer commissions, actually. If you like my art, technically my commissions are open. However, I might need to put together some kind of, card for people to find the information in regards to, what what sort of services I offer artistically. As a musician, I feel if I must break certain limits to achieve my creative freedom, but this perspective really makes me think. Yeah, I mean, that's just it. There's kind of like a mix of, there's a mix when it comes to art. Basically, do whatever works to make the thing you want to make.
Yeah.
I like your art, but I sadly have no money. That's fine. Whenever I suggest these things, like, it's not because I expect y'all to be, like, fonts of magic of money. Magic would be nice, too. But, yeah, fonts of money to flood into my channel, or my work, or anything else, but no, my suggesting or reminding it is for if people like my art and it's something that they want to commission me for, and especially on the basis, I mean, I would hope because you like my art, but especially if it's on the basis of supporting me and it's something that you're looking to do, that is an option, and that's a way that you can get something a lot more tangible as a result of it. Laura's not entitled Twitch streamer. Puts on red mage hat. Yeah, I'm not an entitled Twitch streamer. I could be, but I don't want to be. Let's see, so this, I'm gonna darken a little bit. And here's an example of, like, for example, of examples of a tool that I use to make my job easier. So, wood texture is really difficult to get right. There are a lot of people who have made brushes that work really well for that. However, one of the nice things that I like about Clip Studio is that they actually have an asset store, and there are some things that you can purchase, like straight up purchase. But a lot of people have actually made brushes and, well, assets for creation completely free. And so as an example, here's a nice little wood texture for me to put on this bar without me spending hours upon hours getting that to look right. So, real simple, especially for a, quick 2-second rendering of something, especially when the crux of my production is not necessarily the visual stuff. I mean, I can do art, but it's not my primary mode of operation here. I do my best. I do try, but either way, do what you need to do to make things work, and just remember that even the people that you look up to, the people that, do a lot of the work entirely on their own, very often have support of one kind or another. It should not be the standard to, kill yourself over the art that you're trying to produce. It should not be a standard that you work yourself, I guess literally to death, trying to make something when collaborating with people. Like, you've got options, for example, with Casting Call Club is at least a pretty reasonable place that you can actually pick up folks to collaborate with or to get help on the things that you're not as strong with. I will say, with a caveat to that, try not to go in without having done at least some of the preliminary work yourself. I can tell you from experience that it frustrates me when I get brought onto a project only for there to be none of the work done, and for the director of that project to be like, yeah, I've done no writing, I've done no music composing, I've done no none of the work itself. I want you guys all to do that for me, but I just had the idea and I want to get credit for it. That kind of thing, don't do that. Be ready to put in some kind of work in order to make a project work. But if you just need someone to pick up the slack in terms of what you're not yourself particularly confident on, and you just need a little help to actually push the rest of the production underway, there are a lot of avenues for that. Casting Call Club is one of the ones that's really easily accessible. How do you do art and talk at the same time? Practice. Also, I talk a lot. I would even say literally practice in the form of having done Let's Plays for the last over a decade, and oh my god, I just realized that today is exactly fucking 12 years since I started doing Let's Plays on my channel. Happy anniversary stream, guys! Oh god, that caught me off guard. I was like, wait, the date. Shit! So yeah, 12 years ago today is when I first started posting Let's Play videos to my channel. I will say those original videos have since been deleted. The quality on them was really, really bad. Like, to put it into perspective, the audio was captured with one mic. There was no audio capture from the computer itself. No, I put the mic up against the speakers so that you could hear the game audio. Yeah, that is how I achieved a lot of my earliest videos. This was admittedly in the advent of Let's Plays where, you know, there weren't as many tools available for the individual person to use in terms of amplifying the quality. But things have come a long way since then, but back in the day that was not as much of a detriment to being able to put out content for that sort of thing. That said, I am very grad. Jesus Christ. This is how I talk and art at the same time. Poorly. Sounds like me level of technological innovation. Yeah, happy anniversary stream. Happy rad anniversary. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much. Happy lore day. People don't have to do all the work for you, and definitely don't say, I'll pay you an exposure. Never offer to pay someone an exposure. If people want to collaborate with you for free, that is one thing. If that's something that they actually agree to, it's something that you may still want to find a way to compensate people regardless. Because that's, you know, the nice thing to do. Try not to let an artist undersell themselves, for example. But yeah, no, don't ever offer, like, oh, well, if you do this, you'll get exposure for it. No, do not offer ever to pay someone an exposure. If you do, I'm going to come unearthed from the realms below and scream in your face. That's just how we're gonna have to do it, alright? Don't ever offer that, or you will have to face the consequences. I will be truth coming out of the well to fucking scream in your face. Do you understand? I remember LPs being a camera pointed at the TV or handheld screen. Yeah, that was definitely a thing back in the day. There was a lot of stuff, never do that. Exposure pay, people go to the special hell. Yeah. Like I said, if you find someone who's willing to cooperate with you, collaborate with you, either because they like you or they want, you know, that they like the project that you're working on, that's technically one thing. Currently writing a column for free, mostly part of a team effort to try and get a website off the ground. Yeah, that's another thing. If someone is willing to volunteer their time for that sort of thing, like, you know, if you have a way to try and pay them back for the time that's being invested, that is preferable. But don't ever try to bring someone in for the sake of, you know, doing work that they otherwise normally would not have done, on the promise of them getting exposure for working on the project. Because even if you have a lot of followers, which, you know, in itself is its own thing, if you have a lot of followers, you're probably not having to do things completely for free. So that's a thing to keep in mind. At least pay them in pizzas. Absolutely, pizza is valid, because it's also food, and a lot of artists need food. You can't pay, but it's great exposure, is the most hated phrase by all artists in the universe. Like, I will say that there is such a thing as building your portfolio, but that's the sort of thing that you do, you know, through college. You know, you build your portfolio, and you can choose to do that on your own time. However, you know, anyone who insists that your art is only worth as much as they value it, they are incorrect. It is worth your time. You are worth getting paid at least minimum wage for the work that you're doing, if not taking into account all of the years that you have put and invested into developing your ability as an artist. And that applies for many forms of art, whether it's writing, music, acting, singing, visual arts of all sorts of kinds. all of these things are skills, abilities that you had to work on. Maybe they felt rather organic for you, and that's fine. But that doesn't change that they're still skills that you worked on to get to the point where you are now. And that is worth the money it takes to reward that. Anyway. So, let's see. There was a point I was making a few brain topics ago. Art and all of that. Yeah, there was that. There was, God. I don't remember, so it's not important. We'll move on. Oh yeah, no, I was talking about how do I do these things all at the same time? Yeah, I mean, I've always been a chatty person to begin with. Anyone who knew me growing up knows that I can talk for an extended period of time, and I don't need you to speak up on this, Griffin, and if you did, you would be a massive hypocrite. I can't tell you how many times in the middle of a D&D session he will sigh and then go into a 10-minute speech in character, and I'm just like, dude, breathe and let other people talk. I'm also saying this as someone who is frequently guilty of doing the same thing. I was going to say,
Ohio-philia, have you met Kettle?
Look. The thing is that when she talks, it's because she's an entitled, self-focused bitch, alright? She talks as often as she does because that's who she is. There's a caked-in reason to her creation as to why she would dominate a conversation. It's the same reason why she calls herself the leader of the team. I certainly don't have a speech in mind for any D&D character if we hit a specific scenario. Rolls for deception.
Jesus.
I'm still not over that, by the way, Jared's son. And of all the people to lie to, your own fucking roommate! Oh my god! Okay, I may as well say this. Technically spoilers, but I don't know how many of you are necessarily going to be watching this show when it comes up. But there is... So, Jared is involved in a D&D campaign that is likely going to be going up on this channel, although there will probably be bonus material going up on Serenia Studios as well. And his character, while trying to lie to another character who happened to be his character's roommate in this scenario, he rolled... It was basically a nat 1, and it came out 2 with penalties, a -2. He rolled a -2 on his deception, and the best part is that the excuse that he was giving was actually pretty horrendous excuse to use. Contextually, it was just really bad for anyone to basically do. And so the person that he was lying to, his roommate, was appalled with him. And basically, friendship ended with roommate, you know? It was just one of those... roommate will remember this moments. And...
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jared, but I find it so fucking funny.
Welcome to the call-outening.
Look, yes, but also, anyway, I am looking forward to finally being able to release these things. Reese's Pieces. This stream is not sponsored by Reese's Pieces. Get on it, Reese's. Let's see, rolls for reconciliation. That would be nice. What does a -2 deception roll? It's a nat 1 with a -3 in penalties overall. That's what happens when Jared panics and comes up with bad ideas. Yeah, that is true. And again, it's not your fault. It was just on the spot. This character approached his character. This NPC approached his character and was like, hey, so have you seen this character? And Jared's character was like, oh, I can't do this with you because I gotta do thing with someone. And then rolled a nat 1 on the deception with penalties making it a -2. did not go well, and this NPC kind of just functionally hates him for lying to him. Just kind of like, setting a bad precedent that he's just straight up not going to trust this guy anymore. By the way, you're seeing me use, presently at this time that I am streaming this out to you anyway, a very useful brush. But this is another example of, this is a tool that helps make the process of creating what I create a lot easier. It gives me the nicely spaced out hair texture that I need to kind of shortcut how much time I'm spending on rendering her hair, just as an example. Reese's Pieces, this is not the best part of that encounter either. There's a lot that goes on. There's a lot of things that I am really excited to eventually legit release. It's just, from this campaign that has been, going on behind the scenes. This is a little dark. The campaign's also a little dark, but the first session was 4 hours, and I am going through and trimming out anything that either is like, radio silence or like dead air and stuff like that, or instances where I, as the DM, have to take a moment to find stuff or figure stuff out, because I am baby DM, alright? This is my first experience in nearly 20 years. 17 years is what I think the current... Yeah. So in 17 years that I have had the pleasure of being a DM. So, and this is an entirely new system for me to be DMing in the first place, because last time I was doing it, it was at version 3.5. Many things went wrong for that character. Although, I love that no, not gonna spoil that. Laura has said that my random interjections. No. I'm editing out when I sound like an idiot, okay? This is my ego talking. But there's gonna be, and the nice thing about the editing sequence is that I get to add music and sound effects and things along those lines, so hopefully it'll be a better viewing experience for those of you who want to see us play through this campaign. There's a lot of stuff that's involved in that, and I'm excited to bring that to the channel. But yeah, no, that's going to be a fun campaign. I have been putting a lot of work into that. I'm actually trying to work... so I do want to get an episode for that soon, but it's 4 hours of material to go and sort through and all of that, and that's the part that's making it difficult for me. Because on top of everything else, I'm also still trying to produce other content for my channel. Which I know you wouldn't be able to tell from what has been posted to my channel as of late, but okay, straight up gonna be honest, I already deal with depression, and the last few months with everything that's been going on with the world at large has not helped that. There's been interpersonal stuff that I've been dealing with, and then just the whole state of the world being what it is has not helped, and that has affected my motivation for being able to create stuff. I am, as of right now, kind of past a little bit of a hump in that regard. I do feel a lot more motivated as of late, which is why you're going to be seeing, hopefully, more content on the regular. But the good news is that this also means, let's see, doing an underlighting with a faint shine there. Okay. This means that there's going to be, I'm going to try and have something out once every other week for Sirenia Studios. I'm going to try to stream weekly. There should be some bonus stuff coming out for the patrons probably soon. In regards to this song cover thing that's going to be coming out. You're amazing, Laura's ego. I am in awe. Do I get anything in return? Hi, Laura's ego. Well, do you get anything in return for complimenting my ego? Well, unfortunately, my ego is so diminished. It's already shattered. I appreciate the compliment, but, wow, I said this and I realized that I was finished with Ophelia's face here, so this is Ophelia, and I wonder if you might be able to guess what actually song is going to be covered with this. Let me actually pull up the other panels, because you might not. Save this panel. If Clip Studio wants to save... Clip Studio. There we go. What a good girl. Okay. So, let's see. So this is panel 1, featuring Ophelia and Weldon being little catty bitches at each other. And this is panel 2, with Weldon, well, standing up to sing. Yeah. Speaking of catty bitches...
Oh, yes.
Can I also say that Weldon is absolutely a catty bitch when properly motivated.
The cattiest of bitches. Sometimes
you want to go where everybody knows your name. Where everybody knows your name. Anyway. Sometimes. Song. I can also type. I can also speak. So that was panel 3. Here is panel 4. Which, I'm not great at foreshortening, but I'm trying to get better with it. And, let's see. So this panel 5 is pretty simple, but it's what's necessary to get to the next one. Yeah. So just, foot on fucking stool. And, is this one, with Weldon deciding to do a dance on the bar. Did you just assume a program's gender? I will say, I get that. I will say we may want to back off of doing the joke of, did you just assume my gender? Because most people who either identify as a gender that they were not assigned, or trans people in general, they don't actually go up to people and are like, did you just assume my gender?
They really don't.
Very often, instead, it just makes them so deeply uncomfortable that they have to try and fight a depression spiral. And if there are those who do get confrontational with you, individual people are not going to be perfect, and it usually comes from a place of having been wounded or insulted by the things that you've said. I say that only to say that joke kind of touches on that, and it ends up sort of perpetuating the idea that, trans people are going to be mad at you for assuming the wrong gender or whatever, or assuming what they're... No. You say, sorry, I apologize for carrying on about this. This is, for me, my opinion has decided to come and leak out. It just reminded me, honestly, that this is a thing that I feel fairly strongly about. And again, yes, I feel strongly about many things. That... I assumed this program's gender because I've assigned it the gender of female, because it is otherwise technically genderless. So, maybe it's just gender fluid. Can be female, male, anywhere, on that spectrum. Yeah. I think I know what song this is. What this song this will be. I can't wait to see it. I just liked this shot too, because again, I'm enjoying my improvement when it comes to both anatomy. Hands are coming out better than I think they ever have in my life.
Yeah.
And I just love this shot because again, these two.
It's fucking half elf on a shelf here.
Oh my god. Okay, that's it. Stream's over. Thanks everyone. What song do you think it is, Wild Card of Talents? And then this one. This is the latest one. And I just finished it, so yay. Which means it's time for the next one. Okay, this should actually be fairly simple. And I probably actually don't need to do as much background detail on these even. So that'll be nice. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, keep it free. The kitchen goon in me is going, get your butt off the bar, I have to sanitize that now. Yeah. I would not be surprised. Okay, I know what I'm gonna do for this one. Let's see. What do I want to do for this one? Okay. I actually know what I want to do. I'm sorry, I keep saying that. Like, I have a general idea of what I want to do for each of these panels. Yeah. I'm just drawing a circle over and over. Control Z is a helpful fucking tool. Speaking of tools. Let's see. You can just call me V. Ah, it's V. Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't recognize the username. And I'll probably other side from Greatest Showman. If I'm not right, then oh well. Alright, take care, Gold Ingot.
Hi.
You're right on the money there, V. It is, in fact, other side. I mean, I guess...
Fair enough, V'd want a piece of all the action.
Let's call it 7 and make it happen. I wasn't born this morning. 18 would be just fine.
Why don't you go ahead and ask for nickels on the dime?
15.
I do wait.
That's a little... Well, okay. 12.
Maybe 9.
10. Okay. Anyway. I still love the outtake from that, by the way. Let me fucking... I may as well actually pull that up, because it's an outtake from when I was actually assembling and timing everything. Because I had asked you actually for additional... A bit, I guess technically a retake on the word 10, but I had to place the word 10 properly, and initially when I first plopped it in there, the timing was slightly off, and I listened to it, and I fucking laughed because it ended up sounding like Weldon was like, he missed the timing on it. And so, okay, I'm gonna play this for you guys. 10.
10.
I'm gonna play it again because it's funny. 10.
10.
And because of the way that he delivered it, it's like an almost awkward but semi-confident 10. So, I obviously saved that because I wanted to... it just made me fucking laugh. Speaking of things, actually, that made me fucking laugh.
Oh.
Well, there is that, thing that, we're dubbing that I have been collecting takes from. So,
Yeah.
a fairly good, whoa, hey. Wait, that's not what it is. Yeah, no, that's it. That's what it is. Okay, sorry. So, a good friend of both mine and Griffin, Justin, aka Skeleton08, go check out his channel. He does a lot of regular comic dubs and puts out content. He puts out a continent every week. He's a talented voice actor. I mean, even just like since a lot of you are Undertale fans, if you're familiar with, there was a fan game being made for Undertale based on some of the various Sans characters that were out there, various alternate universes. Justin actually played Fresh Sans. So there's an example right off there in case, I mean, that was actually the chosen by Cran Queen Fresh Sans voice.
He is the canon voice as selected by the creator of the character.
Yeah. So that's Justin. He turns out to have a perfect voice for one of the other NPCs in this campaign, and we're actually in the process of recording the dialogue and the exchange between the two of them, and he ended up sending me a good chunk of the audio, and so I'm actually selecting outtakes from that.
Ah, villain.
That's the first one that's right there, so I may as well start with that one. Because I was doing live direction at the time, so like, I would prompt him with the line before it, I would give feedback on what line he'd actually recorded, he would go back and redo the line, and there was like, a lot of dialogue in between there, A lot of laughing, a lot of, yeah. So let's see. So yeah, that one that Griffin just referenced.
Oh, villain. Gotcha. Alright.
Sorry, that was a little quiet.
Oh, villain. Gotcha.
God.
Alright.
The character that he's playing in this is technically one of those. He plays up being kind of like a villain. He's that sort of person who makes the villain speech. One of the first things that he said early on in this campaign was, "Oh, don't worry, no one's going to survive what's coming." And like, So this is technically after that conversation where my character was contacting this character and flirted with him, taking him from the point of being where he's like, "Why are you contacting me? You're my enemy," to, "So maybe you'll hear back from me sometime soon?" Do you have ID to drink in this pub? How old are you? 10! Out! Let's see.
Wow. It was meant to be. It was fucked.
So this was, we had actually gone through and explained all of the ways that these two characters had overlap to them. And so that was like, it was meant to be. This guy was fucked. And then I just love the fucking blah. Let's see, fucking still a little bit of hot fuzz there.
Oh, I almost ran out of breath. Thank you.
A very big problem when it comes to doing voice acting is breath support.
Yeah.
Now, this was an interesting line where he was trying to be kind of like, well, I know. Unfortunately, he had an interesting delivery on the word enemy, and he kind of noticed it in real time.
God.
Yeah, he's not immediately on the offensive. He's still on the defensive. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I cannot be certain that someone who may be my enemy would... Oh. I'm sorry. Well... I have no idea. The fuck was that? Okay.
Is there anyone who's my enemy? I mean, what the fuck? Let's see.
I was good. I was fucking terrified. I was like, oh. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, oh shit.
So again, just a nice little moment.
Just this portion of the stream dedicated to putting Justin on blast.
Putting him on blast, I mean, that's just it. Like, he's still like, these are funny.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
not making fun of him. It's just the little side effects of having a good conversation, really. And also occasionally messing up, but, well, don't we all?
Being mislead. You're being mislead. Stop. Stop being mislead.
I don't even remember what the context for that one was.
I'm not having it.
And that was ridiculously in character, I'll say that much. The not having it! And
So I don't like it.
Just fucking laughing at nothing. Well, thankfully the mic is it's sensitive enough that it picks up my headphones, so I'll at least be like in here. Yeah, tiny voices. Oh, I mean.
basically a reference to the fact that we were having these long conversations where on his end, and I can confirm because I've been going through and editing all of the audio, there were long periods of time where there was a lot of conversation, there was a lot of laughing, and him kind of confirming what both me and the DM of the campaign were saying. So there was a lot of laughing, and there was a lot of yeah, and there were these long gaps in between, and then he would do a line. It's just like, well, but it ended up getting a really fantastic performance, and I am very excited to be able to bring that to Sirenia Studios sometime in the future. Hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah.
Just Sonic 06 Snap Cube, but instead of 1, it's 10. I see we're on a meme. That's fine. That's fine. Let's see. I want a very specific effect here with the face. Which is, I want the face to look good, so... only a slight tilt. Let me tell you how fun it is being an artist and trying to figure out how to rotate a character's head. There's a reason why during the early sketching progress you will often see the guidelines, at least in terms of where the perspective of the face sits. But yes, I'm also excited for, like, there's a lot of things that I'm excited for. I'm excited for this song cover, which is Next Up to Bat. I am excited for getting the content for the D&D game that I've been running. Getting that out to go. Alright, let's see. Alright. Memes are good. They are. I will say I know that obviously on the internet it has taken on a severely different tone from the way that it was originally coined. Meme simply means that something is mimetic, that it has been transferred into the common parlance or is culturally significant in some way. So, like... There were a lot of memes that existed before the internet, but they were probably either more local memes or something along those lines. Now, obviously, with the internet, we not only create memes sporadically and constantly, but they've actually become a language unto themselves, like making references to themselves as the years go by.
I mean, case in point, we've been new.
I mean, yeah. Let's see. I have a feeling it's going to be at least 1811. I guess. How to face?
Good question.
Well, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm excited for. I say excited in the most calm, fucking bland way possible, but I would like to do things like streaming more often, for example. Again, it depends on energy levels, which is unfortunate, and how much time I can dedicate to that. Now, I will say that if I had hundreds of people turning out to every stream, and, people were doing at least $1 at a time, that could be something that I could focus on. As much as I also enjoy making this other content, in the attempt at, in terms of being able to afford, probably even making better content, I'll say that much. Because me doing a certain amount of things is one thing, but if I had, say, a professional video editor and a professional sound engineer and, music composer, and all of that, I would be able to focus on doing the streaming things and funding it through that, and then funneling that money into helping people on the production side of things. There are old memes being recycled and recontextualized. For example, the rules and... Yeah. The thing is that wasn't a meme back in the day.
Yeah.
That song, it came out... I will say, I didn't know about that song until it started becoming a meme, and then I went and actually watched the video, and I was not expecting the face behind that voice. That voice sounds like a 40-year-old black man.
Yeah.
And we see this tiny twink of a white boy. And it's just like, how the fuck do you get that kind of, bassy tone when you're, 15?
I mean, to be fair, you wouldn't get this from any other guy.
Well, I'm gonna give you up.
Gonna let me down?
No, I'm not gonna. You've already let me down. You've already let me down. There. But
yeah, like fucking.
I mean, I suppose by that, technically, you could consider like one-hit wonders or any kind of popular song. Oh wait, what am I doing? I messed this up anyway.
Another interesting example of that, one for which the meaning of the song went completely the fuck over everyone's head, is fucking Chocolate Rain.
I was gonna say, songs that get popular in themselves literally are memes, especially even before there was an internet.
Yeah.
I jumped straight to the second face instead of the first one. Let's see. Steve Winwood had the same thing going on back in the day. I actually like this song too. I genuinely like the song Never Gonna Give You Up.
Yeah.
A lot of songs that people find funny are like, you know, they're genuinely good songs. Or maybe they're not good songs, but I still enjoy them anyway.
Fucking Evanescence is another example.
I will say, God, what was the fucking name of that song?
Bring Me to Life?
Yeah, Bring Me to Life. There we go. Sorry, it briefly escaped my mind what the name for that song was. I'm focused on a lot of things right now. Anyway.
Yeah.
That song is actually good. It became popular because it was good. And that entire album is fucking fire. It's really, really fucking good and well put together. I will say, I prefer, the synesthesia version of it? Whatever one, where it's far more, it's only Amy Lee's vocals. And it doesn't have the pretentious, wake me up, because it does sound a little silly. And so they fixed that. And it turns out that it improves the quality of the song a great deal. But that entire album, like, I'm a sucker for symphonic metal stuff.
Oh, yeah.
A coworker and I
almost
did Wake Me Up Inside as a duet as Mickey and Goofy for a talent show this week because we're horrible human beings. Honestly, Never Gonna Give You Up is a good tune. As we enter this program, fuck, I'm old. But yeah, no, that entire album, I love it. And I know that I think you were going to say that you're also a big fan of it.
A big that, but also just generally symphonic metal. That's why I really fucking appreciate bands like Coheed and Cambria, or, you know, fucking, what's their name? I haven't heard them in a long time.
Before we get too derailed from my thought process, because I'm very good at getting derailed, the rest of that album is also worth a listen to. There are some songs on there that, I mean, yeah, they're very emo, and that's kind of the point. I will say that the early 2000s, where emo was even coined, was kind of a dark place, especially after what happened 9/11 back at that time. It really did kind of put a huge shock on the nation, because we were kind of used to seeing ourselves as invulnerable, and I will tell you, that was a major shift in terms of, especially politically, but in our wider culture in terms of how we dealt with a lot of things, which is how we're in the mess that we're in today, at least in part.
Yeah.
Kids Bop Wake Me Up, woof, in the middle of it. Anyway.
Fucking Kids Bop did that.
But there are so many good songs on that album. I love Hello. Because it's this very slow, quiet, morose, melancholy song. But it's so good, and it gets intense, like, right at the end, as, like, this nice little final gasp of this character who is, in the last moment, realizing, I don't have to be sitting here silent within myself. Can't someone do something about what's going on with me? And it's a damn good song. And Amy Lee is a fantastic vocalist.
Oh, yes.
But let's see. It's just the idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the band I was trying to think of was Dimmu Borgir.
Ah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
But yes, Kids Bop was one of our greatest mistakes as a nation.
It wasn't even so bad when it was conceptualized, but it became so much worse. Like, I honestly, here's the thing. I don't disagree with making songs that are popular and making them kid-friendly to the extent of being able to introduce them to the music and let them learn through music that they enjoy on the regular, and things that are, like, there's a reason why pop music works so well and is very mimetic. It sticks with us. And so, for kids who are learning how to music, it's actually not a bad place, and it gets them involved and engaged with music that they might otherwise not be able to enjoy the content of. However, that became, Kids Bop is still a thing.
God, I think what I like the most hilarious thing for me is that whenever I think of Kids Bop, I think of the very first commercial for the very first Kids Bop. And like it's like near the end of like the 30-second spot they had, and they had all these kids lined up, you know, like looking to the camera and saying "Kids Bop rocks." But there was this one kid off to the side, like face in their hands, just like clearly not happy to be there, just like saying "Kids Bop rocks," which is what their face. Like no amount of press or money or the promise of fame could get that kid to show any sort of enthusiasm for the product they were advertising for. And it's just the most hilarious thing to me, because that's what I will forever associate Kids Bop with. Just kids being dragged into something that they don't want to be there for.
Yep. Sorry, I just had a fucking flashback to middle school, and I'm not gonna actually talk about that. It involves gross stuff, and
Well, no one wants to remember middle school.
Yeah. Okay. Do I want to tell the story? When I say... Because I was thinking... Because I remember Kids Bop kind of remind me of, like, when that was actually getting started. I remember being in choir and doing some of those Kids Bop-y songs, you know? And there were other songs, and that just reminded me of, you know, being in choir in middle school and having to put on these performances in the gymnasium, which is terrible acoustics. I was a smart kid. Yeah, a very aware kid. So, I remember during this particular concert where they crowded a whole bunch of kids putting on a performance into the gymnasium with the terrible acoustics, and there were the actual different grade levels of choir that were there, or something along those lines, and then they also had like an orchestral or band thing that was going on. I don't remember all of the details. The part that I remember the most was we put on our performance, and then we couldn't go anywhere because this was the gymnasium, so that all we could really do is sit down on the steps that we were all assembled on to put on the performance. I don't know if any of you have ever been to a choral performance and seen like the tiered steps that they get on so that you can get the maximum amount of sound out of a group of choral performers. But all we could do was sit down on those while other groups and other aspects of the school were performing. Rage of the Machine, Kids Bop edition. Rage Against the Machine. But yes, anyway. So, while we're sitting there, unfortunately, the girl behind me had a combination of nerves about the actual performance.
Oh, yeah.
Nerves about the actual performance. She had already not been feeling so great the entire time, and unfortunately, I believe that she locked her knees when she was singing. So if you know anything about singing, you don't want to lock your knees. As a matter of fact, it's actually going to be something that can affect your circulation a little bit. And when you're performing, and you're nervous especially, it can actually make you swoon. And it can affect your...
Not in a good way.
Not in a good way. I have watched people pass out before. That's not what happened this time, though. But I think that the combination of not feeling well and then having locked her knees during the performance, I remember hearing her murmur behind me that she wasn't feeling great. And then she threw up on me.
Yeah.
And that's not the worst part, though. And that's pretty bad, so let me check and tell you.
There's more.
Yeah, but wait, there's more. So the teacher who saw this happen, the choir director, came over and saw this situation, and I was starting to try and move away from it, and she said, no, stay seated so that the audience doesn't see this. And of course I was 11, I was 12, I was in that age range, and when a teacher tells you to do something or not to do something, you know, I was also a very timid, shy kid. Surprising nowadays, but I was. So I just did what I was told. And I sat there after having been thrown up on. It wasn't a lot of throw up, I'll even say that much, but it was still throw up. It was still vomit that was put on me, and I had to stay seated there. Mrs. Laura, I don't feel so good. How did the audience not see? Well, because I was sitting in front of her. Where can I find any videos of your D&D campaign? There isn't any. This is something that we're doing privately with friends. Or that, so the one that I'm doing right now, the videos are not up yet. I have been, for the ones that I've been running, they're not going to be going up on the channel as of yet. They're going to be going up hopefully soon, but I need to do all of the editing and all of that stuff to get it on. Anyway, so I was made to sit there. And I, like, at the end of it, as the audience was kind of filing out, the girl apologized because she felt awful. I mean, in more than one way, I guess. But she felt bad for having done that to me. And so I at this point I get up and, you know, my mom sees the mess on my outfit, on my back, and asks what happened, and I explained. And when I said that the teacher had told me to stay put, like, I'm pretty sure that my mother's face went, like, 2 different colors at the same time. Like, I think it was simultaneously, like, the redness of anger and, like, the paleness of what did you tell my daughter to do?
She went Kirby.
So she was not thrilled with that. Thankfully, I was able to get the dress, you know, cleaned and taken care of and all of that, and I was fine. I took, like, a shower when I got home. This is not something that I should have had to do, and I still remember to this time, to this day, the fact that I was told to stay there because of the teacher who did not understand that my safety and well-being is more important than the audience feeling a bit queasy as a result of someone having thrown up. So, that's okay. Still a fan. Take care. Stay safe and healthy. I appreciate that. They should still be, like, I'm going to knock this out. I'm going to knock what this video is about, what I've been doing the art for this entire time. And I think I've got a couple of other things that I have to get underway, but I plan in this next week to start tackling rounding out more, going back into the audio editing and trimming things down, because it's all technically timed at this point. And then my responsibility after cutting out things like dead air and things along those lines is I'm going to be cutting that up into, I think, probably hour-long-ish chunks, because it's gonna be divided by scene for the most part, so that it's kind of like consistent within whomever the editor is. And I'm going to be passing it off to a number of editors so that they can work on those and hopefully get those chunks out. So that it's not all one person having to edit 4 hours worth of content. I bet that teacher got an earful. I think she's still working there.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised. Meanwhile, the choir teacher from high school that actually taught me something about singing, like, I'd been, like, self-taught, and I largely am still self-taught, but she actually taught me techniques for how to, like, say, shifting notes in the middle of like, a single vowel, in terms of, like, when you're getting started out, while you're still training the muscles for that, and I did not know this until she explained it, when you're training the muscles for how to be able to shift a note while you're still in the middle of a single word and a single vowel, you got put, like, imagine putting a tiny little in between it. Because that way you get the burst of air you need to move the note around. Imagine basically going, as you're shifting between the notes, because then you can make those little jumps and those adjustments as you go. So, God, do I want to sing on stream? But say, you're doing like, the way that you train that up when you're not used to it, it's a simple, for me, nowadays, years and years down the line, I can shift the note a lot more easily, but the way that you get your muscles accustomed to that is by putting in that little H.
Yeah.
Technique, yes. I'm not going to be able to teach anyone how to sing, however, because I don't know all of the right techniques. For example, I don't know how to belt. I've tried, and in some cases I've been able to do dramatic performances, but I'm not a belty sort of person, which is hilarious because most of the songs that are in my vocal range tend to be belted, which is unfortunate. But let's see. But yeah, there's. I will say that I've been watching a vocal coach reacts to different songs, and she's actually incredibly sweet. And I've made the remark, and I agree with this, because someone else actually even pointed it out, and I was like, oh my god, they're right. This woman, her name is Hannah, she looks like if Ariel from The Little Mermaid and Philippa Sue had a baby.
Yeah.
We all know we could learn to sing on Skillshare. Hey, if Skillshare ever wants to, sponsor me at some point, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, first of all, I need an audience that's large enough and consistent enough. But I would love for that to be the case. I will say this. If I do find myself in a position where I do get sponsored, I still want to make sure that I'm doing something authentically. But I will say that in instances, if it is something that I agree with, like, I do love the concept of Skillshare. Shill scare. Jesus Christ, especially when I'm in the middle of talking about potentially being sponsored someday. Trust me, this isn't a shill scare. You don't have to be scared that I'll be a shill. Being sponsored, especially by something like Skillshare, where it's basically a community-oriented thing, where individuals bring their experiences and all of that to the table, and we can all learn without having to go to an expensive multi-$1,000 educational experience, can make a big difference. Anyway, I would love to be sponsored at some point. I would like to make sure that I'm being clear if I get sponsored someday, making it clear that it is a sponsorship, appreciating that people do want to do it. I know that this is one of those, I don't want to be the classic sellout kind of thing. I really don't want to do that, and I'm not going to be like, by the way, this company that I normally don't like paid me to say that they're wonderful. I would never take that up. I'll say that much. And that's where things like having Patreon comes in useful, because that makes it a lot easier for me to not have to take sponsorships like that. But things like Skillshare, things along those lines, I wouldn't have a problem being sponsored by. Shill scare, where companies can buy terrified people to shill their product. You can't copyright it! I just said it! It was coined live on stream. Look, it's because I can't fucking talk, okay? It was coined because I can't fucking talk. You don't get to copyright it. Look, okay, yes, I love tacos, Jared, thank you.
Well, who doesn't?
Welcome to Loreley, brought to you by Taco Bell. Have you wanted to not eat food that's good for you for 2 weeks?
Have you ever wanted to eat food made by people who supported the next Trump presidential election?
I mean, I will say the individual employees are not necessarily responsible for that. It's entirely on the corporate end of things. So, like, for example, don't go into a Taco Bell and start harassing people. First of all, general rule of thumb, don't harass people. Don't go up to people, especially if they are in a workplace environment, and, like, don't harass them about anything. Like, just let them do their jobs. If you want to harass corporations, the CEOs, send them letters, call them. Like, don't don't overdo it, but just let them know and voice your displeasure that way. Because if people do that, this lore and symbolism, the symbolism and lore, get it right, Phoenix Christ, is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Okay. Now, theoretically, if this symbolism and lore is sponsored by anything, I would try to make it something that would be at least somewhat relevant to the symbolism and lore. I might not take sponsorship on those because I do want that to be a platform for educational stuff. I mean, even if it is largely opinion-based, I would still like it to feel a little bit more on the educational side of things versus your typical entertainment. Because I can't do funny, as it turns out. I better go apologize to the Target employees I harassed. What was that?
Debatably. You've been known to make the funny now and then. I can attest to this.
You can attest to it all you want. That doesn't make it true.
You're right, I'm not funny either.
Well, fuck you. Fuck you. Alright, this stream brought to you by our feline... Yes, that is actually true. Have Lore sponsor your product or I will never eat at your restaurant again. I mean, they know that's a threat that I don't mind people making on my behalf. Have Lore sponsor you. Look, I will offer you the perfect commercial voice.
I will off you.
I will offer you the perfect commercial voice. Like, have you... What? Oh, what? Oh! Thank you, Shakarian!
The perfect commercial voice, ladies and gentlemen.
The perfect... Oh, thank you! Okay, but have you wanted to find yourself at a Taco Bell for whatever God knows reason? Well, if you stop by now, you can get a taco.
Do you hate your body? So do we. That's why we at Taco Bell open our doors to you. Taco Bell. Irritable bowel syndrome, only a 15-minute drive away.
Oh, Lord. But, okay, the thing is, it depends also. I think the large thing that gets to people when it comes to, like, eating Taco Bell or Mexican food in general is that if it's not food that you eat regularly, that's usually what will cause irritation. If you're eating something regularly, largely it's not actually going to cause some sort of digestive... Look, I'm tired.
Yeah, I mean, I'll even say I've never had any health issues to that effect with Taco Bell or Mexican food because they are two separate things. Honestly, the last fast food thing that gave me issues to that effect was McDonald's. Mainly because I hadn't had it in years, I think.
Yeah, like I said.
Because I remember specifically is like the first time I ever had a Big Mac, which was, I think, 2018, 2019, was also the last time I had a Big Mac.
Understandable. Have a good day. Well, have a better day after dealing with that.
Yeah.
If something doesn't quite sit right with you, give it a little bit of time, try it again. If it continually doesn't sit right with you, like even after your body has had a chance to potentially get used to it, then you might want to consider it an allergy because allergies are not just breaking out in hives, having your throat close on you. Allergies can actually be like your body not accepting something because it upsets your digestive system. There are multiple ways that allergies can manifest, and I have a few of those myself.
Yeah, just if your body to any extent just says nope to something you put into it, that's probably a good sign that it's not meant to be in your body, period.
Have a taco today. It might be your last. What do you mean that's a terrible tagline?
Taco Bell. Completely ignore the KFC next door.
Look.
Quit asking us to put fried chicken in our burritos. It's not gonna happen.
It is happening. I mean, it depends on the Taco Bell. Depends on the size of the Taco Bell.
Yeah. I was gonna make a joke, but I decided not to.
I'm scared to ask you to explain yourself.
I'll DM it to you.
Okay. But let's see. Can Can I offer you a cinnamon churro in these trying times? I promise, no virus on this one.
Can I offer you COVID in these trying times?
Wow! Okay, for that and also what you typed to me, because fuck you.
I said there was a reason I didn't do it.
Uh-huh. But yeah, I mean, I haven't been to I mean, first of all, I haven't been anywhere in a long time because people can't fucking stay home or put masks on in the middle of a pandemic, but you know, I can't go out because if I go out and get exposed to it, I die, so I'd rather not do that. But I also haven't, for example, ordered from KFC in a long time, so it's been a while. I do remember liking their chicken. I do like it. I mean, it is literally what they are primarily, you know, good for. But I don't know, like, it's not my go-to, and I will say that I've been having something of an adverse reaction to chicken as of lately, like, more just, like, the taste throws me off sometimes. Hello, Metal. Just go outside. Living is... Look, Boba Fett, I know you're telling a joke, but I will say that as someone who literally can't go outside, because it's not just an abstract, guess I'll die kind of joke for me, it really is a case of, I'm scared that every time I order food, or I order groceries, that something's going to end up coming through. And so, like, I don't want to end this on it. Like I said, we're getting kind of towards the end of the stream, and I'm not going to carry on this too much. But I will say, this kind of isn't a funny thing for me, if only because there are severe consequences for me. And there are severe consequences for a lot of people. 100 and how many now? 60,000 something? 70,000 something that have died as a result of this thing. And people are still going around throwing fits and picking fights over being asked to wear a mask. So I'm terrified of getting my family sick too, since I'm the main one going outside. Yeah, it's a scary thing. And, like, I get not wanting to have to deal with it. I don't want to have to deal with it either. But the problem is that as long as our leadership keeps telling us, no, go out into the world, it's okay, we need to keep the economy going. It's like, the economy is not going to function very well if everyone is dead. But,
I mean, you say that, but capitalism finds a way.
Well, capitalism only works so much as there is actually a flow of money going upwards. After a certain point, if you have no labor to produce the capital for which you are getting the wealth or capital from, if you're not getting the production or the labor that actually generates that capital in the first place, the capitalism will literally die with the populace. Which, again, I will remind you in this audience, those of you who are watching live or watching later, you have the control in this situation. You are the labor that produces the capital, and if people are sucking the blood out of the work that you're doing, then you have every right to deny that service. They have a lot of us trained into feeling like we are fairly helpless in this regard. But honestly, we are the ones with the power. The average populace. Not looking forward to the schools open in my country. Yeah, they are open here now, and confirmed cases of COVID in children now.
Yeah?
Doesn't help that my lactose intolerance causes me to get runny nose, so every time I have dairy, I get nervous. See, I have asthma, for one. And two, I have an interesting thing. You know when you get tired and, like, you get droopy and, you know, maybe your speech slurs a little bit, things along those lines. When I get tired, I don't get those things. What my body decides to do instead is it throws a fit that gives me symptoms similar to having a cold. I get a stuffy, semi-runny nose. I will start struggling with, like, headaches. My asthma will often get worse. A lot of this gets exacerbated by virtue of the way that my body decides to tell me you need sleep. And unfortunately, I am also something of an insomniac. So this combination of factors means that every once in a while I have to wonder, have I indeed been exposed to the Rona? Because the government is expecting children to behave in a way children simply do not. Several of the kids at work have been pulled out due to the fears of COVID. We have a huge immunocompromised population. Even with us taking precautions, it's a scary time. Yep. So, this is a heavy subject. I believe I've already spoken my piece on it because I've also talked about this in the past. My point being, it's a scary situation. I wish that I could offer more consolation in that I do believe that this is something that can be contained. But we're not getting it from the leadership, so we may have to be the ones to take the reins and be the responsible ones for ourselves. There needs to be some self-policing, I think. And a lot of people are going to fight that. A lot of people are going to be reluctant to even admit that there's something that's wrong with the way that we're approaching this. And that's unfortunate. And it does end up putting pressure on the rest of us who literally do just want to get on with our lives. And can't until these fuckers start actually cooperating with us. What am I doing? The best I can, I guess.
Yeah.
I will say, can probably move this in a little more. Just trying to test. This is why I have a sketch phase. This is why anyone really has a sketch phase, is to try and figure out the overall composition before finalizing it by lining it. Good news for me, I'm living in a place where it seems to be getting better. Yeah, I wish people weren't dumb and put on a mask. Scary, more cat pics. More gat pics. Work at a hospital. My mom is a respiratory therapist and was kind of scared for a while. Yeah. Kitty day. It's always kitty day around here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna probably bump that down just a smidge. But, so, good news on the horizon. This song cover should be coming out next week. Again, 1 week especially for patrons who will be getting it literally a week from right now. And then on Sunday for everyone else. It's going to be going up on Sirenia Studios, so if you're not currently subscribed to Sirenia Studios, it is linked on every video on this channel, every video as of recent, as well as, I believe, in the main sidebar for the channel. If not, I mean, I guess you'll never find it, even though the latest video that was uploaded that's not a stream also says, well, you know, the new channel. How do we get these types of topics on drawing streams? I haven't been to every single one of them, but look, these topics come up regardless, because it's me. Especially if I have Grifton. Jesus Christ.
Just grifting in, don't mind me.
I am gonna hate you for forever.
Tell me something I don't know.
I don't think I can tell you something that you don't know. Oh, wait, no. I do know something that you don't know. Friendship.
And romantic attraction.
That's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a channel
On that
called
delightful note.
Second Thought that argues certain topics extremely well that I feel needs to be addressed in this country, including reopening schools. I cannot recommend them enough. Tokyo Grifton. Hey Griffin, you're awesome. He's awesome what? I tease. I'm sorry.
I mean, this is wholeheartedly incorrect, but
Hey!
the thought is appreciated.
Fuck you, Griffin. You're amazing. That's not what I was saying a second ago, but that's fine. Yeah, no, there's a lot of channels out there that are still talking about this, including mine. A lot of people are specifically trying to address the way that things are being currently handled are not the way that they should be handled. And it's a difficult enough situation because you would hope that our leadership would, in fact, address this, but instead they are far more focused on sending federal troops to deal with people exercising their First Amendment rights. And a lot of people are like, well, the First Amendment rights is fine, but what about doing damage to property? It's like, they didn't start actually making the changes that were necessary or even starting considering them, unfortunately, until the violence happened. As Martin Luther King Jr. himself said, a riot is the voice of the unheard. Is the language of the unheard, sorry. Should get the quote correct. If you get people who are destroying property because property is not the same thing as human life, it sucks, and it sucks for the people whose livelihood is affected as a result of this. But property can be rebuilt. There are people who are literally dying for many reasons, but their lives cannot be rebuilt upon being destroyed, and that is what people are protesting. And if the only way to get people to pay attention to it is by destroying the physical property that can be rebuilt, that's the option that they are left with. Peacefully protesting has not been listened to for decades, for literal decades. How do you predict that at this exact moment? Maybe a bit behind. Romantic attraction, is that some couples thing I'm too... So, there are multiple axes of attraction. And actually this is a good way to kind of segue out of what we were just talking about anyway. Romantic attraction versus sexual attraction. Because they can be definitely concurrent. Like, they definitely do go hand in hand for the most part. However, just like you can be asexual versus bisexual or heterosexual or homosexual, these are degrees of attraction on the physical level usually, or things pertaining to sex. So romantic attraction are when you are attracted to someone on a romantic level. And they can be the same thing. For some people it is the same thing, but for example, someone who is asexual might still have a romantic attraction to people. I'm technically a bi-romantic person myself, with a slight preference towards potential male partners. At least that has been my history so far. But I'm not writing off female partners or other genders as partners.
Whereas I am just straight up a romantic.
Yep. So on the opposite side of things, we've got this aromantic who does... You said, at the very least, and this is one of those things that could always be up in the air or change at any point, but Griffin identifies with a sexual orientation.
Aromantic.
Yes, aromantic sexual orientation is different from romantic orientation.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You said aromantic in response to you are aligned on the sexual spectrum.
Okay, because I thought you were saying that I align with asexual.
No.
Yeah.
I said Griffin identifies with with a sexual orientation.
Okay, my apologies. I actually have to be right back.
Okay. Stream delays are great for D&D streams. Yeah. But yeah, so these things are difficult and nuanced, and I really wish that there were easy ways to deal with these situations, but I will say that as someone who is strongly opinionated and will not stop being opinionated until we actually address the issues that I'm talking about, it's probably going to continue for a long time. And it's difficult enough to kind of have to live through all of this, and I know that I try very hard, despite my perspective being what it is. I do think that we need to move forward with compassion as the tool with which to start dismantling a lot of the more virulently hateful aspects of conflict. Welcome back, Gold Ingot. I believe that we do need to reach out more with compassion, and even if we disagree with someone, even if it's something that we disagree with on a fundamental level because it involves the safety, security, and well-being of other people, I find that if you let another person talk. And not like argue, not give them a platform, don't let them take to an audience, but if you just let them say the things that bother them, that are currently hurting them, let them express it to you, let them get it off of their chest, listen to them, acknowledge it, even if you disagree with it in the end. You can always still disagree with someone, but still hear them. And I think that a lot of the animosity that has been building up on both sides is both sides of this particular issue. But basically, anytime that there is two sides, a lot of the animosity has been, we feel unheard. We feel like we're not being listened to. And we've kind of gotten to the point where we start resigning ourselves to not feeling heard by those who disagree with us. Despite the seriousness of topics, being able to talk about them is nice in a way. Yeah. Chat goes crazy over a thing, you get confused, and you see the thing chat spoiled for you. Yeah. And yeah, being able to talk about these subjects, like, not everyone can talk about them well, and I know that I'm blessed in the sense that I can be somewhat articulate in between coining phrases like shill scare. But yeah, I think it's important to keep in mind that you can still be angry at someone's actions, you can still be angry at something that someone believes, but if we ever want to get to a place where we are reaching the people that disagree with us, and we want them to hear us out, we have to be willing to hear them out as well. Feeling unheard, yeah. That's just it. It's a frustrating place to be in. And it's frustrating to disagree with someone to the extent on things that involve human lives, and to have to sit there and listen to them say things that are hateful, that are absolutely consumed with hating another person for the way that they are. It's hard to listen to that. I'm not going to pretend that everyone has the mental fortitude to deal with that, but it is worth giving people the chance to say what it is that's going on in their head, in their heart. Because once they know that they've been heard, once they know that once you've acknowledged that something that they've said, they're a lot more amenable to hearing you out, and you can have a genuine discussion. Now, there are obviously going to be bad actors in all of this. There are people who literally demand an argument for the sake of, well, why don't you prove what you think? And there are people out there that exist only to demand your time and to waste your energy. There are always going to be people like that out there, and it's unfortunate, but I would rather expend the energy trying to hear someone out and give them a chance when they show that there is a chance that they're at least going to listen. And if they prove that they're not going to listen, that they are there to have a battle with you and not actually talk to you, that's worth not investing your time in. That's fine. Also, are you back?
Yes.
Okay, welcome back. You don't get to demonizing this stream. Good luck with that. Also, you can't copyright shill scare. Because again, you didn't coin it, and if you try to, I can point to this video and the timestamp and the point of release and say you don't get to copyright that. I have copyright on it by virtue of being the one to coin it. So there you go. Good night, Phoenix.
Yes.
Life is hard, and it's complicated, and it's nuanced. And there's a lot of things that you do have to take into consideration. Like, it is a lot easier to be able to say something straight out and say that, a lot easier to have, like, an overall rule of thumb that if someone believes XYZ, then that means that they believe ABC, and so on and so forth. It is really easy to put people into categories, and that's actually one of the things that I was even trying to say in the recent Symbolism and Lore. We think that someone exhibits a particular set of traits, and that means that they fit all of these other traits that we have associated with that trait. This stream brought to you by the Dark Arts. Want to summon demons? Try Loreley. Chill share would be interesting, but anyway.
If only we could all be more chill.
Stop.
You're right, it's not that great a musical.
Stop. I do want the world to be better. I want us to all start feeling safe in our interactions with one another. I do want people to feel heard, and for this compassion to genuinely start being rewarded. There are people out there who are bad actors. There are people out there that don't want to be vulnerable. They don't consider compassion to be what what their default modus operandi. They don't do compassion because it makes them weak. It makes them look weak, and it means that if you're willing to concede any point to someone else, then that means that you're weak by virtue, and it can't ever be seen as weak. Because being weak means being vulnerable, which means being hurt, which means being taken advantage of. It's all of these things. But I think that it's still worth the investment of giving people the chance. I think that it is still worth the investment of trying to help people reach the same point that you're at. And if it's never going to happen, it's also fine to say, we're not going to agree on this, and I can't agree to disagree. But I do think that we're not going to make any progress on this if we continue trying to debate this back and forth. It's okay to do that. That's what the heart of agree to disagree means. It doesn't mean that you stop advocating for the things that you believe in, and it doesn't mean to stop trying to reach out to this person. But if you reach a point where it is just going back and forth, where it's just going in circles, agree to disagree means that you continue taking active steps to the things that you believe in, towards the actions you believe need to be taken. And they're going to take the steps that they feel needs to happen. But the agree to disagree is, I no longer wish to engage with this debate because I don't believe it's being made in good faith, or I don't believe that we are going to be making any kind of progress here. So we are rolling into early grays for sure. Yeah. So, alright. I'm going to shift because it's about time to call it for the end of the stream. I've been kind of looking for an opening for this. I do want to shift it.
We've had our requisite depressing discussion per end of stream, so...
I mean, I don't want that to necessarily be a habit. I like to tackle these heavier subjects because it is a difficult thing, and like I said, tooting my own horn here, I can be fairly articulate. I do try to approach this with understanding. I do try to weigh, I wouldn't even say both sides, because there are multiple sides to this. I do try to weigh in the different perspectives. However, I agree that talking about this stuff is important. Because the more that we try to deal with it individually, the more we feel intimidated out of sharing our feelings, the more we feel like we can't share our feelings, or that if we do, we're going to find ourselves attacked. It's really hard to fall in. It is easy to fall into that, and hard to push past that. There are people who are not going to want to hear what I say no matter what, and there's really no getting through to someone like that who want to just come here to argue with me, or to start telling me how I'm wrong, that Black lives actually matter. Because no, backing off of it. It's gonna take hours. Most of our stream closings in between advertising, that is when Star and I tend to get a little heavier. Yeah. But yes, so much like Ophelia smiling here in this particular shot, I do want to take again the upbeat reminder that there is a song cover that is going to be coming out next week as of the time of this posting. It will be going up on Sirenia Studios. It's going to be featuring both me and Griffin in character doing the other side. I will say that the art that you have seen on this stream will also likely be posted to my Patreon sometime in this next week. And again, the requisite promotion of all of these things. If you want to support me, there's, for example, the Coffee, what is it? Coffee.com/mlorelei. There we go. I didn't have that open. That is one option, and that's basically like a tip jar. Patreon can kind of function like a tip jar, but it's also more of a monthly commitment kind of thing, which you can adjust at any time, to just as a side note. Those are options. Coming to these streams, even just on the basis of I like hearing from you guys, but also because the YouTube algorithm is a fickle bitch, and it rewards engagement, and I'm putting that in air quotes there. Having these heavy topics has helped me articulate what I want to say about these online, so if you're worried about these, there is some good coming from them. And I appreciate that. Anyway, puts cheese in stream. Yes, cheese is good. Various ways to support me are all of that, and also just, like, if you want, like, if when I release something and, you want to help draw attention to that, I would not object to you posting it in various places. Just obviously be careful about sharing stuff in places where you think there might be a lot of trolls, because getting early started with this kind of thing, I am not comfortable inviting that, because I've had a couple of instances of that as it is. Noms the YouTube algorithm, that's a mood. But yeah, all of the support regardless is appreciated. Thank you again to Shakarian, again, for the donation to coffee. For the coffee, I guess is what it's called. You got me a coffee. Thank you. You bought me a lot of coffee. I really do appreciate that. Heavy subjects are probably a mainstay of these streams for admittedly. Yeah. I'll aim to have to be back with Skyrim next week. That's that I generally do enjoy that. I'm having fun with that, especially with usually having Gab and Alex join in with that. We'll see how that goes, as everything is pretty much based on a we'll see what my energy level is like, what my health is looking like. All sorts of factors go into that. But I am hoping to make this a productive week and hopefully start edging more of the things that are in the pipeline closer to completion. Yes, again. Thank you, Shakarian. All right. So, I'm going to actually call it there. But thank you, Griffin, for joining me as usual.
Always a pleasure.
Well, sometimes it's not a pleasure. Sometimes we have heavy conversations, it turns out. You're welcome again. That's
Mostly
fine.
A pleasure.
Mostly. But thanks to everyone who came by today to watch. Thank you, Jared. It's always actually it's a surprise to have you in these streams, but it's always very welcome. Especially because that's how we met. You randomly found my stream and were like, I'm going to watch this. And then I was like, hey, I've got a Discord server. And you're like, I can go to Discord server. But yes, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys hopefully next week.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.